Yo, what's going on, everybody? Jordan Lee Andrew. Welcome back to the Two Man Advantage podcast, where we bring you all things Red Sox. I'm Jordan. Like I said already, that's Dylan. Dylan, how you doing this morning?
I'm right.
All right, word.
Uh, yeah, we're on a bit of a hiatus this time. It's my fault. I was doing some shopping on Monday, and it went a lot later than I was expecting. But I'm here now, and Jordan's here, and the Red Sox just had a series, so you know what that means. We're gonna talk about it. Except they technically had two series, but goddamn, that Rays series was so boring. We're pretty much just gonna skip it all together. I got the results up. Game one, we won 7-3. It was all right. Game two, we won 5-2. Price was all right. Oh, trust me, we'll get back to Price. And then Sunday, in possibly the most boring game of the year, we lost 2-0. And Jordan, we both talk a lot about how much we love close, low scoring pitchers duel games. This was close and low scoring, but it wasn't a pitcher's duel. It was just boring.
It was a lot of relievers. It started with Hector Velasquez
Yeah.
versus I don't even remember the guy's name. He went 2 innings. That guy went like two and a third. Velasquez went four. So, and then it was
It was
just
so boring.
relievers. It was just
See,
relievers.
if this was two starters going 8 innings, and
You're
then
like,
the final
okay,
score was 2-0, I'm like, oh, this is tense and close and suspenseful.
yeah, because I
This
think
game had like 27 pitchers.
yeah, like you get late into a game with a starter, even if he's been dominant, you're like, okay, this could be the inning. He just all of a sudden loses it, and we score 6 runs. We
Yeah.
get a couple guys on it, it just leads to something. But the Red Sox, I think, only had 2 hits in the game, or 3 hits in the game.
Yeah, it
I
wasn't
remember
pretty.
it was gross, and there was some hard outs too. But like, it was really just a all around just gross game to watch. The only
Then
two
we,
runs the Rays got were on solo shots too, so it wasn't even like the
yeah,
Rays did anything either. It was just a couple of balls they ran into.
there was no runners on for most of that game, and it was just such a slog to watch.
Yeah, it was bad.
Um, but then we moved into a four-game mini potential playoff preview. This could very easily wind up being the ALCS matchup between the Sox and the Cleveland Indians. This was, of course, as I said, a four-game series, all four games taking place at Fenway. Two division leaders going at it, and it started game one. Rick Porcello taking on Corey Kluber in a pitching matchup that I was particularly interested in. And for a while, it looked like I had good reason to be interested. Right off the bat, Sox jumped out to a 2-0 lead on Xander Bogaerts, who, again, another name that we will get to, trust me. Um,
Oh yeah,
and then the next inning, we got Benintendi driving in Jackie Bradley. So the Red Sox were off to a blazing hot start against one of the best pitchers over the last few years in Corey Kluber. Uh, but then he kind of settled in, which was a bit of a shame because as he settled in, Rick Porcello started to fall apart. He went from a completely dominant 10 pitch first inning and then stayed pretty strong through the fourth, and then it all kind of came crashing down with a leadoff homer in the fifth. Now, Porcello's kind of getting into this horrible pattern of a great start and a bad start, then a great start, then a bad start. This wasn't a bad start, but it wasn't good after a while. It started great, but he just fell apart.
yeah. Even after he gave up the second home run, which I want to say was to Melky Cabrera, the one that tied it at three.
The
Um,
first one was to Cabrera, the
oh,
second
the
was
second
to
one was
Brantley.
Brantley. Okay, yeah, Brantley hit the 2 run home run to tie it. Brantley's an annoying hitter for starters.
Yep.
Like he just doesn't strike out. It's annoying. But anyway, he looked like he was ready for a quality start. I'm not quite. I can't remember how many outs there were. I think there was two when Greg Allen hit the home run that gave him the lead in the seventh.
Yeah, it was two.
Okay, and you're just taking a line drive off the chest and just ate it like an absolute stud. I understand Cora leaving him out there, but I think in that case, regardless of what situation you have going on in the bullpen, you can just take Porcello out because then the reliever has as much time he needs to get ready on the mound. He doesn't have to feel rushed. He can take his time. I think I don't blame Cora for leaving him in there, but I think you can blame Cora for the game ending the way it did, because as I think I would have rather stuck with Porcello myself as opposed to going to a guy like Hembree or Workman or Kelly or Barnes even in that situation. But just because we are a results-based team, like we're not the Marlins, we're not the Mets, we're not the Rays, where if we lose games, we can just be like, you know what, he's just showing trust in his young pitcher or whatever it might be. He did show trust in him, which I can commend him for, but at the end of the day, the results need to be there, and it wasn't in that case. And I think Porcello has been snake bit by a lot of home runs lately, so like his bad outings are literally just because he gives up home runs. And that's the thing with contact pitchers. Like, I know he has had games where he strikes out 8, 9, 10 guys, but when he is pitching to contact, he needs to be perfect. And he was out over the plate a few times, and it burned him. And I'm not overly concerned with Porcello, but it is definitely worth noting that the long ball has really killed him the last handful of starts.
Yeah, to that point, all 5 runs that he gave up in this game came off homers.
Right.
Cabrera hit the solo shot. Brantley hit a 2-run jacker in the 6th, and then, like you said, Greg Allen took him deep for the 4th and 5th runs. So it is a shame that he is almost throwing away these good starts with home runs. Because he did look good, especially for the first 5, even with the homer. It's just those last 2, he just really fell apart. And a lot of it does have to do, I think, with in the 7th. The 6th inning was just the 6th inning, but in the 7th, I think it does have a bit to do with him taking that line drive right off the ribs, because it's on his throwing side, I think, and you can't really get that extension without feeling a bit of discomfort. So,
right.
Shame. The Red Sox tried to make a comeback in the 9th. Betts would double, Benny would walk, but then Moreland would get into a fielder's choice. Martinez would pop up. And then Xander Bogaerts, with his 3rd RBI of the game, would drive Betts in, but then nothing would happen because Kinsler would fly to left. This was just sad. Sad to see Porcello go from having like you said, a quality start to
a bad one,
a loss with 5 earned. So
and to my point earlier about the home runs killing him, in his last 5 starts, he's allowed 8 home runs. He allowed 3 in his last start, 4 over his last 2, and 8 over his last 5. And to add to that, his WHIP is under 1. It's actually under 0.8 over his last 5 starts. That's just showing how the home runs are killing him. He only has 5 walks, 20 hits allowed, but 8 of those 20 hits have been shots in 32 2/3. So he's been getting killed by home runs. Where if you get into October, I know you're not going to rely on him for 7 innings every single time out there. You can get him for 4 or 5, and you'll probably call it good because you'll have guys like Eovaldi, Rodriguez, Pomeranz even out of the bullpen, and then in the regular season, you're willing to extend guys, especially if they're under 100 pitches. Because I know when he took the line drive up the chest, he was only at 99. The home run he gave up might have been on the 100th pitch.
I think it was 101.
Yeah, so those types of situations you probably wouldn't present yourself or wouldn't even put on the table in the playoffs. If Porcello gets hit in the chest with a line drive, you're probably yanking him, because at that point you'll have if he's gotten you through 6 2/3 innings, you're willing to go to your bullpen at that point. And if the bullpen cops it up, then you really can't blame the manager. You're not going to be like, oh, we should have left Porcello in because it's the playoffs. The game's shortened. If he's even in the 7th inning still pitching, you're okay with that.
Right. Because then you're not getting that bullpen worked
Right, especially
So
since they
he
don't have
would
many
get
arms for
pulled after the seventh, but the damage, like I said, is already done. Thornburg and Pomeranz would come in and give scoreless innings, but Sox weren't able to mount that comeback. Worth noting that the Indians really kind of settled in after Kluber. After Kluber settled in, because it looked pretty ugly at first, but after the second inning, only one earned through the next seven. So good job from Kluber to settle in, and then from the bullpen who came on a supporting role to shut down one of the best offenses, if not the best, in baseball today. Moving on to game two, and this time we would see Nathan Eovaldi versus Justin Bieber's twin Shane. He looks nothing like him. I just couldn't resist saying that.
Had to make it apparent at some point that his last name was Bieber.
Yeah, I feel like there was a big missed opportunity for the commentators to do that. But then again, they're old and probably don't even know what a Bieber is. Oh, was it this game or the other one where I legit wrote "Shut up, Eck" as one of my notes?
I don't know. I wasn't with you.
Duh.
They talked about him. I don't want to jump again into the last game of the series, but they were talking about sandwiches again yesterday. But this was O'Brien's fault. He brought it up.
Oh man, I hate. I can't even like overstate how much I don't like Eck. Yeah, I
I
have a
love
note
Eck.
that just says Eck is dumb, but I don't remember what it is. So
Well, I mean, sometimes the stuff that X says, he just sounds like an idiot. Like, and I
all
like
he
X, but he says some stuff that like is really questionable.
all he does, like I said, I think this was on the pod when I said it. Like I made the joke about, he could say, "Oh, a ham sandwich," and then Eck would talk about a sandwich he had in '82 that was the best. But seriously, that's all he does.
He
Is
adds tidbits of random stuff.
it's just a story from the '80s, back when he had those 2 or 3 good seasons as a closer that made him famous. Like, he acts like he's the messiah of baseball because of it. Like,
He's
dude,
in the Hall of Fame.
do you know how many people are in the Hall of Fame? And more importantly, do you know how many people aren't in the Hall of Fame?
But
Or
most of them
should
are
be?
juicers. Most of them are juicers, and there's like Kurt Schilling
Yeah.
and Pete
So,
Rose.
there are deserving people who aren't in there, and I blame Eck for that. Um, so Shane Beebs came in to Boston with a 6-2 record and a 4.37 ERA, and he pitched pretty damn good.
He is
The
good.
the Indians got off to not really a hot start. They went 3 innings scoreless, but in the fourth they would jump out, beating us at our own game because the night before we played a lot of small ball to get all of our runs. They got their first on 3 straight singles with 2 outs. So take that, long ball enthusiasts. And then Greg Allen would get a double to drive in the second run, make it 2-0 at the end of 4. I have an interesting note. I don't know if I wrote it down, but it was certainly apparent to me. The Indians had. I'm definitely not counting in my head right now. I definitely have this memorized. Fill the time, please. 2, 3.
One thing I've learned over the course of the series is that Greg Allen is basically a Red Sox killer. Like, I don't understand it. Like, this dude, I know he came in hot. He had a hitting streak that reached 14 games by game 2 of the series. I know he didn't get a hit in game 3, but just watching him play the outfield and then watching how he hit at the plate, he owned the Sox this series. He did have the hitless game, but he pretty much was one of the MVPs of the series for the Cleveland Indians.
Yeah. So what I was getting at was the Indians had 6 men who batted in consecutive innings in this game. The Red Sox didn't get their first until the 7th, and that was it. So that should tell you what you need to know about how the Indians pitched against the Sox in this game. They were not letting Boston get anything. So you had that 2-run fourth inning I talked about. Then in the sixth, you would get just a solo homer. And then, where did the other run come from? Oh, you had
later on another homer.
You had Gomes get on, then Allen, and then Brantley would get a single. The reason that I was so confused is because this was the play where Brantley got a single, tried to stretch it to a double, but was thrown out after Bradley threw home, and then Sandy Leon just gunned it to second to get him out. But the run would count. It happened before the tag at second, so they would escape that inning with a 4-0 lead. And they would make it 5 in the seventh. But the Red Sox would fire back and get 3 runs on the strength of Xander Bogaerts. There's that name again. Then Mitch Moreland and Kinsler each with RBIs. And that would end up being it for the offense for the Sox. The Indians would tack on one more for a 5-3 victory. And it was at this point in the series that I started to panic. Because this could have been a playoff matchup. And if the Indians were coming into Fenway, potentially winning the series at this point, I was a bit worried.
Yeah, I wasn't necessarily as worried as I think I probably should have been after the first 2 games, because the way that the Red Sox have played all year, I knew that they were prone to get cold, and just the timing of it sucked. But I also looked at it saying Rick Porcello would never start a game 1 against Corey Kluber. Nathan Eovaldi wouldn't be starting in the playoffs to begin with. Those first 2 games are filled by Chris Sale and David Price, and as we saw in the finale, I know we'll get to it. That's the kind of stuff that David Price can do. I know the postseason numbers aren't where they should be, but I feel like there's something different about David Price this year, where I just feel like this is the year that he just kind of shuts everybody up, and he's like, yeah, I could pitch in the postseason too, just watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I was as panicked as most Red Sox fans were after the first 2 games, because I know Brian Johnson's not much of a stopper, but he's basically in there in the Chris Sale role, so maybe a little bit would rub off, and I knew the Sox offense was due to bust out eventually, and then I knew David Price would start in the finale, so I knew it wasn't going to be a sweep. I knew it wasn't going to be an easy Game 3 victory.
Moving on to Game 3, because I think you meant Game 2. We would see Brian Johnson taking on Carlos Carrasco. And this game was a lot different than the first 2. The Red Sox offense exploded in this game. They would come across and plate 10 runs overall. But it started pretty poorly as Edwin Encarnacion would send one out to left field for a home run. Then put the Indians up right away, but JD would get one back and make it a 2-1 ball game. And it would stay that way until the 4th, when Xander Bogaerts again drives in a run with a home run that would tie the game. And then the Sox offense just exploded. They would end up plating 5 in this inning, 3 of which came from Andrew Benintendi with a double down the left field line that would clear the loaded bases, making it 6-2 by the end of the 4th. This was such a different game than the first 2. The first 2 were fairly low scoring. There was like little flashes. This game was just fireworks.
Yeah, I think the Red Sox basically said this was going to be, or they didn't really say it, but they made it into a statement game where they're like, you're not going to come into our ballpark and just smack us around like you have the first 2 games. We didn't show up. We don't have our ace going at all in the series, but we aren't going to roll over and die. This is in 2017. This is 2018. This team likes to fight. This team likes to put on a show for their fans, and they did, and they looked really, really good offensively, at least, especially for that 4th inning, the illustrious 4th inning that the Red Sox always seem to do something in, whether it be just a run or it turns out to be 5 like it was in that game. But
it's funny too, because Nesson actually put up a graphic a little bit after we made that point about how good they are in the 4th that showed that they're actually better in the 5th. But it just doesn't feel like it because it seems like every time they have a huge inning, it's the
the
fourth.
Right.
I guess they're just consistently better in the fifth.
Probably. That's gotta be it.
Moving on to the fifth, Edwin Encarnacion would hit another 2-run shot. That would make it 6-4.
Off Heath Hembry.
Yeah, our boy. But it would be okay because Mitch Moreland would hit a homer, making it 8-4. And then Xander Bogaerts again would hit a homer, making it 9-4. And JD would drive in a run in the eighth, making it 10-4. The Red Sox bullpen actually came up pretty darn big after Johnson only was able to go 4 1/3, giving up 3. Hembry would come on, give up the homer, but then between Workman, Barnes, Kelly, and the best bullpen pitcher in Red Sox history, I'm just kidding, calm down, Brian Brazier, there would be only 2 hits over 4 innings and no earned runs as the Sox cruised to a 10-4 victory. Why is it that the Red Sox just love giving Brian Johnson all of the run support in the world?
I don't really know. I think my guess is for some reason the offense thinks we kind of need to score runs for this guy. And I don't really know what it is. Like, I really don't. It's just weird. They just all of a sudden, when that guy pitches, normally when Velasquez starts, and then a lot of the times when Pomeranz would start, the offense would just explode. And then you get guys like Chris Sale, who they don't necessarily need the run support, but you'd like to give them a 5-6 run lead because
Right.
you know it's over at that point, and they'll score 2 runs, and then they'll call it quits there. And then you got Brian Johnson coming in there, and he's like, Ness said something in the game yesterday about how they average 8.5 runs per Brian Johnson start.
It's insane.
That's stupid. And that's also counting the 15 runs they scored against the Yankees in the Brian Johnson start, and then the 10 runs they scored the other night in a Brian Johnson start. Like they just love smacking the ball over the ballpark, and they hit a ton of home runs too when he's starting. Like the Pierce 3 home run game was a Brian Johnson start. Bogart's hitting 2 and Moreland hitting 1. That was a Brian Johnson start. Like they just love hitting the ball over the ballpark, sometimes out of it, and they just I don't know. I don't really know what switches when they have Brian Johnson on the mound, but all of a sudden they just turn into like this absurd offensive team whenever he pitches.
It's weird too because it's not like this was a favorable pitching matchup. I mean, you're facing Carlos Carrasco, who came in 15-6, and even after giving up 5 earned in less than 4 innings, his ERA stayed below 4. It's at a 3.55. So it's not like they were facing a low down, barely called up from AAA guy. They're facing an established starter for the Indians, and they still just went out there and just obliterated him.
Yeah, he's been like a notorious second half pitcher too. So I think people are saying like, oh, it's Carlos Carrasco. Like you didn't do it to Corey Kluber, you didn't have to face Trevor Bauer, but like Carlos Carrasco's been on their level in the second half. His ERA isn't. Well, before the start, it wasn't as low as a guy like Kluber or Bauer were pitching. It was I think it was like just above 3, maybe just under 3.
Which that's nothing to scoff at. Those are
pretty
good
numbers. Nothing to scoff at, and he got punched in the mouth in the 4th inning, and he just kind of rolled over and died, which some of the Red Sox, thankfully, don't do as a team.
Yeah, he came into this start 333, so it's pretty good numbers. It's 1 run per 9 innings.
Right,
not 1 run per 9 innings, 3 runs per 9 innings. No, it's not. Whatever.
It's a little bit more. 3 1/3 runs per 9 innings.
I'm losing it. I'm just going insane. It's fine. Don't worry. Yeah. So he pitched good. He pitches good, but he didn't pitch good this game.
Right. But the Red Sox have always had his number. I think they showed the guy was at the game, so they showed like a graphic on the Humble Bread. They showed a graphic on like one of the screens that his career ERA at Fenway or against the Red Sox is like 6.5. So the Sox own him. It's just a matter of now he comes in hot, so you all of a sudden think it's going to go a different route, and it just didn't.
Yeah. There's a really weird noise coming from your mic right now.
That might be my fan.
It's like
what does it sound like?
Buzz.
I don't know.
Really odd.
Okay, well, let's just not talk about it.
Yeah,
Let's just pretend it's not happening.
especially because I'm gonna try my best to edit that out, so people might not even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "What do you mean that?" You mean person? Because there's gonna be one person that listens to it, and it's gonna
Well,
be one of us.
yeah, I can actually pull up the stats for that. Never mind, it's not important. So we're basically gonna spend. We've already covered the first 3 games. And game 4 isn't even gonna be a review. It's just gonna be wow, 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 wow. David Price is pitching like the guy we pay.
Yeah.
8
It's
shutout innings. He gave up 3 hits. He had 7 strikeouts. He's insane.
He's been pitching like an ace, and it's like it's coming at the perfect time because Chris Sale's obviously on the disabled list for the second time since the All-Star break.
Yep.
So you get a guy like David Price. You're desperately looking for somebody to step up and fill the role of Chris Sale. Now David Price, I know he has his moments, but he's not a guy who's going to go out and strike out 10 to 12 guys in a game. I know he's had a couple of 10 strikeout games, but
I mean, he's almost at a one strikeout per inning. Like,
yeah. And his ERA is just over 1. I know Chris Sale's in his last handful starts at 0.2. Nobody can do that other than Chris Sale, but David Price is at 1.08 or 1.09 in his last 8 starts. Conveniently, I'm pretty sure all those are with Sandy Leon. So,
yeah, I've got the stats flashed up here from him before the All-Star break to him after the All-Star break. Before, he was sitting 10-6 with a 4.42 ERA over 108 innings, had 109 strikeouts and a 2.48 average against. Sitting here after the break, 4-0 with a 1.09 ERA, a 1.95 average against across 41 and a third innings pitched with 40 strikeouts. And to anybody who's watching this on the YouTube version, I know you can read. I'm not insulting you. This is just for people who don't have the video to go along with it. He's just pitching like the $30 million guy that we're paying. It's amazing to watch. I was so excited that this was just a random day game. And it's the first time that I've been excited for a Price start, but because I had to work at 3:30. So the fact that this was a day game meant that I got to see most of Price's start, and that just made me so happy because I knew it was going to be good because of the way he's been pitching.
Yeah, I mean, he only allowed, like you said, he only allowed 3 hits, and if it wasn't for a bloop single by Red Sox killer Greg Allen in the 3rd inning, he would have been taking a perfect game into the 6th.
Yeah.
And then I know he got kind of lucky in the 7th inning because he gave up 2 straight hits, and then Melky Cabrera hit an absolute rocket at Xander Bogaerts that turned into an unassisted shortstop double play because the runner was so far off second base that there's no chance of getting back. But he was as advertised. The guy that was as advertised in 2015 when they signed him.
Yeah.
And we just haven't seen it yet. And I know he wasn't bad in 2017, but he was hurt all year. The expectations really just kind of fell off the table with his Yankee start on July 1st. But since then, he's just flipped the switch. I know he said he tinkered his mechanics a little bit. He's got Sandy Leon behind the plate now instead of Christian Vasquez. And I said the last time we did this, I talked about how he's been better with Sandy Leon. I think we both actually talked about that. This time, like it's I'm starting to think it's an actual thing. Like I don't think it has a lot to do with his mechanics. It might have a little bit to do with it, but it's not really a coincidence that a guy has a 3+ run better ERA with Sandy Leon compared to Christian Vasquez. And I think if anything, what we're witnessing here is a potential Sandy Leon staying like a contract extension in the offseason. So. They might avoid arbitration with him and just sign to like a 2-3 year deal. And Christian Vasquez, who just signed an extension in March, he might be getting traded. Like it's either him or Blake Swihart, and I think the difference between Swihart and Vasquez is that Swihart still has the upside offensively to the point where you're willing to see what he can do with an actual role on the team. And then Vasquez is just so redundant. He's basically a Dollar Tree Sandy Leon at this point because he doesn't call a very good game. He's better at blocking balls. He's better at throwing runners out, but he doesn't call a very good game. So his starters tend to get smacked when he's pitching.
Yeah.
Like David Price, for example. and with a guy like Sandy Leon back there who's holding him to a 1.09 ERA since the break, you don't mess that up. You cannot just run the risk of, maybe Christian Vasquez will be better at calling games next year. No,
you can't do that.
Hell no. You got to keep Sandy Leon here long term, at least until Price decides he's done here, because I have full faith in Chris Sale. He can pitch to whoever.
Yeah, but even Sale, he's been, I'm pretty sure that .2 ERA.
It's all with
I'm
Leon.
pretty sure those were all with Leon. So
I'm pretty sure every start he's had this year has actually been with Leon, with the exception of maybe one. But I could be wrong. I'll double check it right now. But I don't think he's really made any starts to someone that's not Sandy Leon this year.
Yeah, Leon. We had this conversation, and I'm pretty sure this was off mic. Obviously when it's Bruins season, NESN has the 7th player award that they love to give out to just reward a guy who's exceeded expectations and played a pivotal role that you wouldn't expect. Guys like Bergeron and Marchand, they're pretty much exempt from that because you expect them to play good.
Yeah.
If the Red Sox had I guess it would be a 10th man award, it's got to be Sandy because of the way that he has turned around not only David Price, but Eovaldi pitches better with him. Sale has gone from elite to
more elite.
Hall of Famer with Leon.
Just real quick, I'm going to jump in. He's a 1.95 ERA with Leon. His ERA in 40 innings with Vasquez is 2.02. So it's not that much of a difference, but it's the walks per strikeout with Leon is 8.45, and the walks the strikeouts per walk with Vasquez is 3.85.
Do they have average listed?
Average with Leon's 170. Average with Vasquez is 190. It's Chris Sale. So
right,
it's Chris Sale. So it's not like it's a guy like Rick Porcello where you're like, so it is just a coincidence. But
right.
It's Chris Sale. It's not really a good measuring stick for how valuable Sandy Leon's been this year. But when you look at how he's been with guys like Baldy, Porcello, for the most part, Price specifically, the value he has to this team, I don't care if he doesn't get a hit the rest of the year. Obviously, I'd like him to.
Yeah.
If he doesn't get a hit the rest of the year, but he keeps calling games the way he has been, he's playing that lockdown catching, position defensively behind the plate. I don't care how he hits.
No,
and he gets hot, and he picks his spots to get hot. I know last year he was one of the better hitters in the postseason for them. Albeit it was just 4 games, he only played 2 of them, but he actually hit in October.
Right.
But he's his value to this team is second to none, and they got to make sure they keep him. I know he's arbitration eligible for 2 more years, but his value to this team is pretty important.
Yeah, definitely. I've never thought about the importance of catchers as much as I have this year with Leon. I used to look at it and people would talk about how good a certain catcher was, and then I'd look at their hitting numbers and be like, well, they're not that impressive. But this year with Sandy and looking at just how differently a lot of the guys are pitching with him behind the plate, I get it. I finally get it. I understand how important having a good catcher is because, you can probably pull this up a hell of a lot quicker than I can, but Porcello's difference between Leon and other catchers, I don't know. I think it was Sandy in the Porcello start on Monday.
It was.
But, so that doesn't really help my argument here, but
but that's just home runs, and then I don't think that's really something you can blame Sandy Leon for. And I know it sounds like now I'm just making excuses to fit my argument, which
right.
I sort of kind of am. But it's always been the case for Rick Porcello. When he gives up home runs, he's not as good as when he doesn't give up home runs.
Shocker.
It's not like he's not a guy who gives up a home run and you're like, okay, that's it. I know he did that in the Yankee start where he only gave up the 1 home run to Miguel Andujar, and it was a solo home run, but he compacts it. He doesn't give up 1 anymore. It's he gives up 1, and then you're like, okay, when's the next one coming?
Right.
When's the third one coming? And then he's all of a sudden out of the game. But for the most part, he's been fine this year. As I'm talking about this, I'm pulling up his numbers with Leon this year. and he's actually only pitched to Leon this year. So I think that alone speaks volumes to the value of Leon. I don't think, because I remember Vasquez used to catch him a lot, and I know he did when Vasquez came up in 2016. Porcello was caught by Vasquez a lot until Vasquez got sent down. But I think it speaks volumes to the value of Leon that a guy like Rick Porcello only pitches to him.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't pitch to anybody else. I don't know if that's just a coincidence or not. But I think if Vasquez...
I think this late in the season, it's not a coincidence.
If Vasquez was really the superior catcher, he would have caught guys like Porcello, Porcello, Sale, and Price.
Yeah.
Not just the guys like Johnsons and the Pomeranzes and guys that you can live with getting lit up because, well, they just frankly do it all the time.
Right. Yeah, so Price, he's gone from that 4.42 ERA before the break. It's almost gone down a full run. It's at a 3.50 now. That's a difference of .92. So
yeah,
that's a whole less run per 9 innings that he's giving up. And that's just over the course of, what, a month? It's been, what, like a month since the break, would you say? So
it's been over a month now. It's been like a month and maybe a week, so 6 weeks.
6 weeks. So to have already jumped down that much, not only that, but just looking at the fact that his actual ERA since the break, he's giving up almost 3.5 runs less per 9 innings. Like, that tells you everything you need to know about just how good David Price is, or has been. But somebody else who's been really good, and it seems like he's very angry that he missed out on the All-Star break, has been Xander Bogaerts.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't do superlative predictions for this series because we didn't do a preview. He's the MVP for me, even above Price with his start. Xander Bogaerts in all 4 games had a run batted in, and he was just amazing.
Yeah. You can't really compare because, David Price obviously, I think, had the best single game performance of everybody, but the fact that Bogaerts was valuable, even though he went 1 for 5 in the game yesterday.
It was still an important one.
It was an important one because he knocked in 2 runs on a double.
Yeah.
So, which I find kind of funny, and I actually tweeted about this yesterday. It was like, walk Benintendi to load the bases for Blake Swihart.
Yeah.
End result, 2-run double. Intentionally walks JD to face Bogaerts with the base loaded. End result, 2-run double.
Yeah.
Intentionally walks Brock Holt to load the bases for
Nunez.
End result, 2-run double. So you're trying to get double plays, but instead you're giving up doubles, like, and they're pretty big. And I was like, how do you even like? I feel like you can't even do that on purpose. Like, if you tried to give 2-run doubles every single time, you just wouldn't do it. But I think another thing, I know we kind of strayed off on the topic here, but we didn't point out that Mitch Moreland left the game in the first inning yesterday, forcing a surprise cameo yesterday of Blake Swihart playing first base over Steve Pearce when Moreland got yanked.
Yeah.
With the left knee contusion, which I was surprised by. I didn't look at his numbers versus the Cleveland Indians over the course of his career, because I know there's no way he's faced that Adam Plutko guy, because I don't think many guys on the Sox have faced him. But Blake Swihart goes out there and has a good game offensively. He's 2 for 4, had the 2-run double that started the offense. I believe it was the bottom of the 5th inning.
Yeah.
People will get on Blake Swihart. People are quick to get on Blake Swihart because he's such a highly touted prospect, and he just kind of hasn't been as advertised in the major leagues. I know he had a good 2015, but he didn't really play in 2016. Got hurt as he started getting hot. In 2017, didn't play much. And this year, he's not really played much. But when he's given the opportunity, he's shown what he can do. Like, he had the 2-run double in the game yesterday. He had a walk-off double against the Phillies in that 13-inning affair back in July. No. He's a good hitter, and people are not giving him credit. I mean, he's not a very good hitter for a first baseman. Not even close. For a catcher, he's above average, and that's why I mentioned earlier trading Vasquez, keeping Swihart as a backup, because I think he's a guy. I know Vasquez is a great dugout or clubhouse guy. I know the team loves him. He's a very high energy player. But I think the team really likes having Swihart around. I don't know why. Maybe it's just the fact that he kind of reminds me of a guy that like rides pine all year on like a high school team, but he like always has the sickest handshakes. Is always the biggest hype man on the bench, and then he goes in there and the team just goes nuts when he's batting.
Right.
But
Well, I think you mentioned the Vasquez versus Swihart thing. The thing that stands out the most in favor of Swihart for me, and I'm not really that big a Swihart fan, but the reason that I would keep him over Vasquez is the flexibility. How many different positions has Swihart played this year? And he's played them all pretty damn well.
Yeah,
so
he like played third one game, and I was like, "What is going on with Alex
he made
Cora's brain?"
ridiculously
And he made a couple
plays.
of nice plays. Yeah, like he's a freak athlete, and he's not a great defensive catcher, but he takes that catching, and he's not really that great of a defensive first baseman. I mean, I saw him yesterday. He bobbled a pickoff attempt that when Price threw over the first base. That, I mean, he probably would have been safe at second anyway, but Greg Allen was flying to second. He rushed it and dropped it. He dropped a pick, but then he caught it with his bare hand.
Yeah.
So he's not a very good defender, but he's such a freak athlete that he can make up for it. And he's got arguably the best arm on the team. I know Vasquez has an absolute rocket of an arm, but like,
well, if we're talking best arms on the team, it's Jackie.
I mean, in terms of catches.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not stupid. Come on. Jackie Bradley Jr. is arguably the best arm in baseball. I'm not gonna say Blake Swihart's better on the team. Come on now. And I love Blake Swihart, but I'm not gonna hype him up that much. I'm not that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jackie.
But yeah. Anyway, back to where we were. Yes, Xander Bogaerts was definitely the MVP of the series. His value over the course of all 4 games was absurd. He might have a 290, 25, and 100 season, and that's what we've been waiting for since he got called up. He has had the 320. He's had the 320 year. He's had the 20 home run year. Last year was an absolute nightmare. This year, he's just been consistent. And he's right now, I believe, at 282 or 283.
281.
281 with 19 home runs and 82 RBI? Maybe he's 84
Yeah, 82.
Now. 82. So he's on pace to get potentially 290, 25, and 100. Which would be arguably the second or third best season, in my opinion, at shortstop in all of baseball. I know guys like Andrelton Simmons and Trevor Story might be better shortstops than him, but Xander Bogaerts has been consistent from start to finish. It's absurd.
In the month of August, he has a 317 average, and it's gone up only a few points. He was at a 274 at the start of the month to a 281 now. But if he keeps hitting the way he's been, he's got a 5-game hitting streak now. If he keeps hitting at that level, forget about the 290. We might be looking at a 300.
He's gonna get red hot, but yeah, we're talking about it's a legit possibility. And the way, and the thing with him is he's always been hit by a pitch on the hand every year. That's when his slump starts. He got hit by a pitch on the hand in 2016. Hit by a pitch on the hand in 2017, and that's where he just all of a sudden fell apart.
This year it seems like it helped him.
This year he got hit on the hand, and then he came back a little shaky. But he's just been Xander Bogaerts, and he's just like crushing the ball all over the ballpark. You know, the multi-home run game in Game 3. He's just been awesome this year. And like I said, back at the beginning of the month when he was hitting the 274, I was like, last year he hit 273. This year I feel like he's hitting 300. Last year I felt like he was hitting 240. This year I feel like he's actually hitting way better than he is. Because I feel like he's got a lot of hard outs, too. Like, it's not even like he's flailing at sliders away all the time anymore. He's, like, striking out. He's still striking out, but it's not like he's flailing. He's putting up good at-bats. He's getting a lot of hard outs. Like, I know the game, he had the 2 home runs, and he had a bullet to center field that Greg Allen had to make an over-the-shoulder catch for. So, like, we're talking about a potential 2 RBI double, 2 RBI triple, whatever it may be, and it wound up being a line out center.
Yeah.
Like that, those are precious batting average points.
Yeah, if he does heat up enough to get, up to a 300, you're potentially looking at 4 Red Sox who will be above 300 because Benny's been on that border since like June of flailing between one at bat he's a 301, the next at bat he's a 299. So
yeah, he's been on the bubble. I'm just waiting for him to get. I mean, the thing is, he's been like relatively cold. I mean, he had like a 5-game hitting streak entering yesterday, but he only had like 5 hits or 6 hits during it. So it was like a cold 5-game hitting streak. and it got snapped anyway. But if he gets hot, he could be bordering around 315 by the end of the year. Like he hasn't even gotten hot yet, and I'm still waiting for him to hit a home run. He's only hit one in August. He's only hit one in August. I mean, technically two, but the one against Baltimore didn't count. So he only has one this month. And I mean, like I said at the beginning of the year, like I could see him legitimately pressuring 30, but like now I'm just praying he gets to 20. It's not even like he's hitting badly either. It's just like you're waiting for him to just run into one, and he's just gotten underneath the few. Like the other night, he flew out to the warning track, and he looked like if he squared it up just a little bit, that thing's over the bullpen because he launched it.
Yeah, so he could potentially and probably will finish the year above the 300 mark. JD and Mookie are well above it, and I know Mookie has kind of fallen back a bit, quite a bit.
Yesterday, though.
But I don't think he's gonna drop low enough to go under 3. So there is the potential that we have 4 guys, league leader eligible, of course, who end up hitting above 300. Reason I say league leader eligible. Rick Porcello has a 400 average, but it's only across like 6 at bats, so or 8 at bats.
5 at bats.
Same thing.
But yeah.
So yeah, he doesn't count, but we
on that NLDHers.
Oh, I hope that doesn't go through. So yeah, the Red Sox would split the series, meaning we still haven't lost a series, since God knows when? Was it the New York series? In New York?
Yeah. The Red Sox are 9-0-4 in series, in their last 13 series.
Jesus.
The best stretch since they didn't lose a series in 16 series. That was back in, I believe, 1972. So adding more and more historic stats to this historic season that they're on pace to set. It's crazy. Like, to think that in March and early in February and March, people were talking about how, it's the Yankees division, the Red Sox just better hold out and hope they get home field in the wild card game. And now it's a matter of the Red Sox are just running away with it. The Red Sox are just running away with it.
First team to 90 wins, sitting at 90 and 39. So
right, and the next closest team is the Yankees at 79 wins. So like the Red Sox,
we got to 90 before they got to 80.
Yeah, the Red Sox have 90 wins before any other team in baseball has 80.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
Can't wait for win number 100. So yeah, they split the series here.
80.
Worth noting, the 2 guys at the top of the home run board going into the series were JD Martinez and Jose Ramirez. Neither of them hit one in 4 games in this series, which allowed Chris Davis last night to surpass them to take the sole lead with 39. But that's it for the series against Cleveland. Normally this is where we would shamelessly plug the next episode, but we're actually going to do the next episode right now because it's another Tampa Bay preview. We just did one, and we were way off base on all of it. So we're just going to skip it because there's not really much to say. The Rays are going to start with the bullpen, and
2 games.
We got Blake Snell in the 3rd game. That's the only one that we know.
Which is going to be a good game, I think. That's going to be a good game to watch.
Evaldi versus Snell.
Yeah, it could be. Evaldi versus former club against Blake Snell, who's having a Cy Young caliber season.
But there's not really a whole lot. Not that we're avoiding it. There's just not much to talk about. We don't know the starters.
We
Tampa
could do
Bay
superlatives, I think.
Yeah, we'll just do Red Sox superlatives.
Yeah, Red Sox superlatives, and then maybe like Rays MVP.
Yeah.
We could probably do that.
So best start, I'm gonna say Evaldi pitching against his former team. He'll be more familiar with the park than anybody else. Who do you got?
I'm trying to remember who's starting tonight. Who is it?
Velasquez.
Okay, so I'm gonna actually go, and I'm gonna say it's Porcello in Game 2 of the series. He's gonna have the best start. I get the whole like Evaldi pitching with against his former club. It's not a very good team, but I think Porcello, after, like you said, he's fallen into this pattern of great start, bad start, great start, bad start. Well, he just had a bad start.
Yep.
So if the pattern repeats itself, he's going to go out and dominate, and I give him 7 innings of maybe 2-run ball, and he'll probably give him a home run, but because Rick Porcello, but he's just not gonna. He's gonna have the best start. I don't think the way Eovaldi's pitched since his Yankees started, it's just not been as good. I know he's just kind of regressing back to where his level as a pitcher, but it's a little bit concerning, and I think Porcello is just gonna outpitch him for that.
I think we both agree the worst start's going to go to Velasquez.
Yeah, because even if he pitches well, he's only going 4 innings. So I think both of those guys both of the guys that'll follow him will factor in the decision. I mean, maybe they'll get a no decision, but they'll at least pitch long enough to be eligible for a win. I don't see Velasquez doing it. He go 4 shutout innings. I'll still think it's the best start. Sox sweep the series. I don't think it's the worst start. I mean,
my best hitter of the series is also going to be my MVP, and I'm just going to go based on how he's playing. It's going to be Xander Bogaerts. I'm not going to try to predict a stat line, but he won me back over in that Cleveland series. So I'm going to put my faith in him for the Tampa series as well.
My MVP is going to be another guy who had a very solid Indian series, and he's been snake bit all year by hard outs. His average is so low that you'd think he was a bad hitter, but he's not, and he's been finally finding holes lately. I'm going Jackie Bradley Jr. I know I've picked him. I know I've picked him a few times this year to be an MVP for a series, but this series I think is different. He's like actually heating up now. His average is finally up to 225. Yeah. We're talking about a guy who started at like 160. He might finish at 240, which I think is more impressive than a guy who started around 280 and finished at 300.
Yeah, when I started like really watching every game, which was back in June with the Astros series, late June, early July, or maybe it was the other way around. He was only at a 192, so to come this far up, it's ridiculous.
I remember tweeting back in May because I was like, I remember saying because Jackie Bradley Jr. had like a 2-run double. And I went on my phone. I'm like, I know I tweeted something about Jackie Bradley Jr. should not be in the lineup anymore. And I found an exact tweet from mine. It was back in May, and it was, this should be the last night Jackie Bradley Jr.'s in the lineup for a long time. And Cora's just stuck with him, and I think that's a credit to him. I mean, I know the defense is obviously worth keeping in there alone, but if he's an automatic out, you already have that at catcher. So you can't really afford to put 2 guys in there that are automatic outs, but like, Cora has never said I know Cora's never said a negative thing about anybody who's on the team, but like he talked back in May, might have been early June on WEEI about Jackie Bradley Jr. is right where we want him offensively because he's hitting the ball hard, get the 3rd best exit velo in baseball over the last couple of weeks. I'm like, okay, get exit velo if he's just getting out, and then I was like, wait a second, that means he's hitting the ball hard. He's just not finding holes. He's still striking out a ton, which I mean he always has.
So is JD.
Yeah, so is JD. Mookie lately has been striking a ton also.
Mookie's slumping.
Benny too. But Jackie's finally finding the holes. He's still hitting the ball hard. His average has jumped now 33 points. Or actually, I think it's as much as... Actually, been 63 points since my tweet back in May about how bad he was offensively and how he should never be in the lineup again.
All right, so we got all that out of the way. Do you want to pick a Rays MVP? I'm not even going to bother.
CJ Cron, just based off of the last series that when they came to Fenway, where he hit some tanks. I know he had a 2-run home run off Price, and then I know when the Velasquez start, he came up in the 9th against Matt Barnes, and he sent one onto the Mass Pike. It just absolutely launched it. So he's my pick, mainly because he's really the only notable name in that lineup at this point. Maybe Joey Wendell too. He's pretty good, but I'm gonna go with CJ Cron just based off history.
Ditto. All right, so that was the Indians review with a slight touch of a Tampa Bay preview. A great series in Cleveland, hopefully a promising series for Red Sox fans in Tampa. But that's all we've got for you today. You can join us next time, hopefully Monday. Not sure if it's going to be Monday.
Not because I'm moving into school on Monday.
So probably not Monday.
Maybe Tuesday. We can do it maybe Tuesday morning before I go to orientation, but we'll see.
All right. So we don't know when we'll see you again, but we will eventually.
It will eventually happen.
Until that happens, I've been Dylan. That has been Jordan. We've been talking about the Red Sox, and we will catch you eventually.
All right. See you guys.